You're here just in time, Gorak. For those that don't know, Gorak like pops up right as the intro is going on. That is brilliant. Today we have an amazing guest. We need to see a doctor because Gorak over here has been having a nagging rash. I possibly have a hemorrhoid. I don't know. This guy is a professional doctor, I think. He might have his PhD. No, but Clive is a DJ. He started DJing in London clubs when he first started in 1982, if I'm not mistaken. He was with Doctor and the Medics at the time, though. And then he, of course, was doing Doctor and the Medics, released a bunch of singles, which we will talk about. But the big one that boosted his career was a cover, Spirit in the Sky, which that is the best version of that song, in my humble opinion. I'm not just saying that because the doctor's backstage shaking his fist. Like, you better say that's the one. But no, without any further ado, we do have the doctor coming on. But before we do that, please follow him on all social media. They are all there. And if you can't see them or if you don't get them written down quickly enough, they are in the description below. And also, Pink Sock Podcast is now on all streaming platforms. We are on Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast. We're on them all. Unfortunately for some, but great for others. Without any further ado, Doctor, give me the news. I've got a bad case of loving you. Why don't you cover that?
We did.
You did?
Yeah. There's not many songs we haven't covered. It's our 40th anniversary this year. And in 40 years, you get to cover a lot of songs. We did do that one. Yeah, we never recorded it, but we used to do it live. So anyway, hello, everybody. It's lovely to be here. So hello.
You amaze me because I was going through your biography and watching Kathy Grant's Reignite. And you went from being like this, when you first started, you had a lot of like hits, like that you wrote yourself. And then now you're like the biggest cover artist ever. Like, how did that happen?
Well, we did. Well, I'll tell you what happened. We started off. Predominantly we're an originals band. You know, we started off the word cult. You know, and back in those days, if you were an indie band, you didn't have hits. You weren't meant to have hits. You weren't meant to get in the charts. In fact, if you remember the expression "sold out," you know, if you had a hit made, oh, you've sold out, man. You know, and in fact, when we had Spirit in the Sky, a lot of the great unwashed who kind of had claimed us to be their own felt so disenfranchised by the whole process that they just stopped coming to see us. In fact, one guy travelled about 100 miles to a gig just to stand by the stage door to tell me he wasn't coming to see me because we'd had a hit. Now that takes some fortitude, doesn't it? But we were filling venues and we were having indie hits in the old indie charts in sounds. You know, we had an indie number one, and then we had Spirit. Now we're going to skip a little bit here. Right, we're going to skip over the story a little bit to when the band was in a state of decline. Towards the end of the 90s, we couldn't buy a gig, is the truth. And I got an offer to do a load of gigs, but I was told you had to do covers. So I said to the remainders of the band, if you want to join me, and you know, we've got to play covers. And in fact, Steve Maguire's words to me were, if you can take the rotting carcass of this band and make any money with it, do so with my pleasure, with my blessings. So I did. And now I'd read a bit about Tina Turner saying the only thing that Ike gave her was he told her that when you're struggling, do covers. So to me, I thought, well, if it's good enough for Tina Turner, it's good enough for me, okay? The only thing was she did it for 18 months. I did it for 18 years. But it's like a bomber coming out of a very slow dive. And we're just at that bit there now with a new album coming out this year. So it's been, so we kind of go between covers, originals, and we don't care.
Are you guys sticking with the working title for this new album coming out, or did you change the title?
It depends which version you've heard. It depends who I was talking to at the time, because what I've always done, and I promise I'm not going to do with you. Absolutely.
You're just going to make up shit like you do on Wikipedia.
Yes.
You're not even working on an album. Don't lie to us.
I'm not even indoctrinated. I'm not even the doctor. I'm just a bloke with a wig on.
Yeah. When you first told me you're a doctor, I wanted you to look at like medical things, but no, you're actually a reverend. But we'll get to that later.
Yeah. So, no, when I put the stuff on Wikipedia for a reason. If I'm doing an interview and I hear the guy just saying, "Oh, you recorded a world music album in the Mexican desert, I believe. Can you tell us a story?" I know, all right, mate, you've read Wikipedia and that's it. And so from that moment in, I just talk bollocks and make stuff up. And it's quite, and I have a lot of fun doing that. I mean, Wikipedia have clamped down, but for a while they had the Mexican album thing that I was refused a heavyweight boxing license in 1992 on health grounds.
That one's true.
Might be. I might be lying to you now. See, the great thing is Mick Jagger can't say all this, can he? Because everyone knows what he's done every second of his life. I can make anything up, and anyone would believe it. The snail farm is true.
I want to get into that because
okay.
I want to know, and I'm sorry if I interrupted your statement, but
you interrupt away.
What is the life of a snail farmer? Like, do you milk them? What's snail milk taste like? Like what do you do?
It's a hard life. You're up at 3 a.m. You don't go to bed until 1 in the morning the next day. You have to inspect all your snails, and a reasonable amount of snails is 300,000. So you're going around every day checking they're all right. Not just their physical well-being, their mental well-being. You have to spend time. Some of them need a lot more. Different snails need different approaches, okay? Some of them need the arm around the shoulder. Come on, mate, you're okay. You're going to be fine. Some of them need just telling. Eat, breed, bloody breed, eat now. So you've got to work out which is which and how they, and you get to know them all. And so it's heartbreaking when you sell them by the ton for the restaurant because you're just saying goodbye to 250,000 of your best mates. It's a hard life. There's the physical work is hard and the emotional strain. Well, look at me. I'm 21.
So when you say you're a doctor, you don't mean for people. You mean for snails.
If I was a doctor for snails, I'd be a rubbish one, because the truth is, I started it in Wales, and all I want on my grave, I don't want anything else. I just want, here lies Clive Jackson. He was a crap snail farmer. Within the space of 3 weeks in 1980, what year was it? About 1989. In about 3 weeks, I watched my entire, I don't even know if they're called a flock or a herd. I'll call them a herd. My entire herd of snails died. Because we'd had 2 mild winters, they hadn't hibernated, so they were starving, and they got fluke or some bacteria in there, and it just wiped the lot out. And so I now know why nobody else has ever tried to farm snails in the Brecon Beacons. They all farm sheep and hardy animals that are used to it. But me, it's a bit like Michael Palin's crossing the Andes by frog, isn't it? I decided to farm snails in a mountainous, cold region.
You are the real life Spinal Tap. Okay, I can see this in one of their movies where like Nigel's like, I retired from music and now I'm snail farming. But how do you find time to like write music and do shows if you're spending all this time snail farming?
Well, as I say, they did die in 1989, so I've had a long time. I've had a long time to recover and get over it.
I thought you were still doing it. That's why.
No, sadly not. Sadly not. No, snails. Although I have changed the entire indigenous species of snail. I've affected the entire ecostructure for the Brecon Beacons because my snails were Helix aspersa major. The indigenous species here were Helix aspersa minor. So you got mine, which are this big, they which are that big. They've interbred, and you've now got a medium breed all round here I call them Helix aspersa Clive's boys. By the way, I should say boys and girls because they're asexual. They when they breed, they both have eggs and they both lay eggs, which is beautiful, really.
It's not the size of the snail, though, Clive. It's how it tastes. You know what I mean? Do you know? I keep meaning to just go out with a bucket and collect loads of this kind of hybrid snail that I've introduced to the area. You know, there's going to be some there's going to be some natural disaster, like there's going to be another COVID, and they're going to trace it to this specific breed of snail in the Brecon Beacons that I accidentally started, aren't they? I'm going to be responsible for it. But I've you
never
heard it here first, folks. Clive Jackson started the Omicron with a freaking snail.
Yeah, I've never tasted my own snails. that sounds wrong, doesn't it?
I've never tasted. That needs to be on a shirt. Doctor and the Medics never tasted my own snails.
Yeah, that might be the title for the book. Yeah.
Is that the new album?
Oh, bring us back to your original question. Let's bring us back to your original question, which was, am I still going with the working title for the album? Which working title have you heard?
Optical Mystic was the one I heard.
Yes, the Optimal Mystic. That's what we're going. That's what we're going with.
You know what you should do?
Sorry?
Hear me out. I'm a marketing genius. You should release this album in different countries under different titles that you said was the working title. So you're not lying to anyone.
Very good, very good. I've got them all written down. My memory's terrible, but I think we've got the disastrous rise and fall of Harry Ockham is another one. That's a personal one because Harry Ockham, Hari, he's our mythical stroke. He really did exist. He was our driver and press officer. He still does our press for us, but he was also our spiritual guru back in 1982. And it was Harry that told us that you don't do music for money. You do it for the love, and that somehow to earn money from it was to soil it. So he was very good. He looked after the van, all the equipment, all the money and everything for us, so we didn't have to worry about it. Sadly, the day the van and all the money and everything disappeared, so did he. So we think that when he saw that man's inhumanity to man, it affected him so badly that he just had to go off, and he's probably still meditating somewhere. So he disappeared the same day that everything disappeared. So so that's named after Harry, because he's obviously a very special man out there somewhere still looking after our money for us, so we don't have to worry.
Wow, that's an insane story.
Well, again, it would be if it was true, but you know.
Oh, well, I don't know. I don't believe anything you say. Like, I don't know if I don't even think you're a real, like, I don't think any of this music you wrote's real. I'm
a glove puppet. I'm sitting here with a glove hand up my arse.
If I find out that you were the next Milli Vanilli, I'm going to be mad.
No, I aspire to being Villy Millie, as I call him.
Actually, you heard it here first, folks. The actual singer on the Milli Vanilli songs is actually Clive Jackson of Doctor and the Medics.
In fact, if you listen very carefully to some of those recordings, you can hear the sound of 250,000 snails sliming around the studio.
Have you thought about doing that as an intro for a song? That would be brilliant.
Well, not until now.
With your luck, that would be your next huge hit, and then nobody would like you anymore.
You can't have any less people not liking us than we've got now. Hang on. You can't have any more people. That's right. You can't have any more people not liking us than we have, than we had a little while ago. I think we bottomed out on that front. So,
I love how, like, a lot of musicians, when they reach even the fame that you have, like, has an ego to them. But you're just like, yeah, I mean, I had my fun, but
well, we've always been, I tell you what, we've always been an ego-free zone, because I think there may have been a little while at some deluded point where one or two of us got a bit above our station, but we've always been, even before, and we never really understood why we were number one, what had happened, because we were this indie band, we'd made an album, we'd had indie number ones, we were on that level, and that was going to be our level. We were going to make albums and be maybe one day aspire to having sort of some semi-hits, and what have you, and carry on down that line. We never ever thought we'd have the hit. In fact, when we were flying over to America to tour America, because we did an insane 5, 6, 7 week tour of America, but it was one of those share a burger ones, because we had no money. We weren't particularly well known in America, so you do the East Coast and the West Coast, and those venues are great, but everywhere in the middle, all by bus, like every single night doing a gig, because we had to pay for the hotel. We'd literally pay as we went along down the way. But on the way over there, we went Air India, which was fantastic, because they were selling Indian champagne for £9 a bottle. Which even then was really, really cheap. So we were all drinking this, and I remember saying to Steve, I said, look, let's just enjoy this, mate, because it's never going to happen again. And do you know what? I was right.
You haven't toured America since, have you?
No, we haven't. People keep saying, why don't you come over? Well, it's, sadly, it doesn't work that way, does it? I don't say, "Oh, America, I'm coming over to tour." And I think the economics of it, just wouldn't. They're not going to work, are they? So, but I'd like to think at some point something will happen whereby we'll be able to come and do, because what I like about America is, or at the time, I don't know what it's like now, but what I liked about it was you'd see people playing the venues that we were playing, like Dave Mason from Traffic, who nobody over here wanted to know. It was dead in the water. But you see all these artists who, and countries like Italy are the same as yourselves, where they hold on to people who've had their moment. People still want to go and see them because they realise that they're going to enjoy the show. Whereas in England, Britain, we use them. You have your 5 minutes and that's it, which is possibly why we've got such a good, vibrant musical scene over here, because we get rid of the driftwood very quickly. You don't hang around on the shore for long, unless you're up there. So you it's a very quick rotation of people. But in America, you did seem to have a system of venues where people could play it who possibly had their day but were still performing and enjoying it. And so I'd like to think we could come one day and do that sort of thing.
What I've noticed about music, and a lot of bands that are like huge over there, like you stated, a lot of bands that are huge in the UK or even got a following in the UK doesn't have the same success in America and vice versa. Like an example I always use is the band Aha. Yeah. Aha was huge in the UK. They still headline festivals, but in the United States, they're a one-hit wonder.
Yeah. Status quo.
Yeah, they're only a one-hit wonder, and they haven't toured in the U.S. in a long time.
No, there's a lot of bands, and to be honest, I'm sure if we went down the annals of it would be the same as in America. I just think some bands
don't translate well with other countries.
No, do you know what? I think it's more of a business thing, because certainly back then you had to have the correct representation. You had to get into the charts. You had to be played on this radio. You had to be. It's a very complex. Having a hit in America is far more complicated than it is over here, because over here you had Radio 1. Haha, get on Radio 1 and play it enough and you have a hit. It was that simple. But in America, I still get confused. College radio, this radio, that radio, this chart, that chart. It's quite a complicated business. And I think to get there, you have to, from the bands I know and what I've read, that the bands who've done it have either gone out there and they've toured and supported X, Y, Z for years and years and years, which we didn't get the chance to do. We'd have loved to have done. Or they've gone out there and they've had such a backing. They've gotten to this syndicated station, that radio station, that show, and they've worked their way through it. Well, neither of those options were open to us. We did do. It was a good tour because we were kind of, again, in America, very culty. So, and we'd have kind of the sort of pre-goths coming, and a lot of the kind of the punk, the hangover of punk at the time. So we were the venues we were playing, the small venues, were brilliant. And as I say, in New York and LA, great gigs. But just in between, the Americana in the middle was quite interesting on occasions.
Like, I'll be honest, I knew of the band, I knew the song Spirit in the Sky because it was in a lot of movies back in the day, wasn't it?
Not our version, sadly.
Oh, because I know the song, and when I heard your guys' version, to me it's the best version they have out there, including the original.
Oh, thank you. There we are. There.
But I listened to your albums because I wasn't that familiar with you guys until Kathy started mentioning you guys, because I'm in America. You guys weren't as big of a hit over here as you was in the UK, and I don't think you've released a bad song on your albums from what I've heard. And it's a tragedy that bands like you guys aren't bigger. But do you think that the fact that media is so easily accessible now could be a downfall of bigger bands happening, because a lot of music's easier to get a hold of?
Yeah, I think I think to become, if you look at the bands who are touring stadiums now, mm-hmm. I think sort of you got the big bands in the 70s, they're still 60s, Stones, for example, 70s, 80s, and then it suddenly goes down 90s, zeros. The ones that actually break through to that level are getting less and less and less, because the question you get asked a lot is, how do you compare the music to when we broke through to the music scene to how it is now. And I don't think it's better or worse. It's just very different. So for me to discover a band like the 13th Floor Elevators, which one of Rocky Erickson, 13th Floor Elevators, one of my favorite bands of all time. I was lucky enough to see him last time he played the UK, which had been a lifelong thing. I really wanted to see him and I wasn't disappointed. But to discover that band, you had to take a bus ride to a record shop in another town, come back with your 12-inch of vinyl under your arm. You'd have read this little snippet about them in some paper. You'd probably get a kick-in on your way home because you had the wrong album in the wrong neighborhood. But you get home with that vinyl and the excitement. That's what you don't get now. The excitement of putting that on and thinking, right, I've never heard this. I hadn't even heard You're Gonna Miss Me. Well, I had because I'd heard it on there was a radio station covered the Nuggets album, the double Nuggets album. I don't know if you remember that, with all the American garage bands on there, which I thought, this is brilliant. I need to find out about this. So I did. And when you got it, you own that 12-inch vinyl. That was yours, and you felt that, which you don't get now. But what you do have now is that so you find a band, you hear them on Spotify, you can see them on YouTube. So within 20 minutes, you know everything about them. You know all their releases. You've heard a lot of their music, and you've seen them live probably on YouTube. So that accessibility, I think, is brilliant, and I think it's quite vibrant. But what it does is it gives everybody, you're not being spoon-fed band A, B, and C who they've decided, we're going to play this. You've got the world at your fingertips. So what it does do. There was a lot of rubbish around there's always been a lot of rubbish around in the music business. I say rubbish, people doing it who just aren't as good. You know, it's just what happens, or not as lucky. But the music is there. It's not good. It's just that you've got a hell of a lot more bad music now, so you have to search a bit longer to find it. But when you do,
well, the thing is, sorry to interrupt you, but
you interrupt away.
The issue is it is easily accessible. But it's not that there's more bad music out there. It's just easier to find. There was a lot of bad bands back in the day. They just weren't played on the radio. You didn't hear them a lot.
Well, I suppose what I'm saying is, there used to be a filter system, which was record companies, gig venues. You know, you wouldn't get to do a gig if you weren't good. But now you can, as you say, you're there. But it's just harder to wade through it all. So I suppose what I'm saying to your question is, it's okay. A band can have some success, make a living, tour and gig, but they just don't get to be, because there's so much more out there, they just don't get to that elevated status as often, which I don't know is a bad thing or not, because if it's like the lottery, should the lottery be one prize of £50 million or 50 prizes of £1 million? And I think maybe it's better that more bands get to experience and get to A level rather than just a few bands get up to there, possibly, you know. So
well, it's a double-edged sword, because like your music is more easily accessible. People can find out more about you. It makes it a lot easier for the fans. But there is that double-edged sword where there's not much profit to be made off the music itself, because Spotify and stuff don't pay like the record labels did. No, they don't. And the way you've got to which I'm way behind. I'm way behind the curve on all this. Is the way you've got to compensate that is just keep putting stuff out, so that Spotify and everything is loaded with your material, so that you're getting less money per track, but you're getting more money because you've got more out there. And so, I'll cut to the chase, because we are doing this album this year. Whatever happens, it's going to get finished, and we're getting through it. You know, it's been tough because it's been 15 years, bro. You're trying to beat Ashley Grant with the stereotypes on the longest amount of time to make an album. Come on now.
I'm got to be honest. I found the original CD with the original song ideas that were sent to me, the music by the guy I wrote it with, and I found it. And the date on there was 2005, so it's 17 years. I don't want to rush it. I don't want to rush it, you know.
You were too busy trying to get the snail farming business back up. Don't lie to me.
I was too busy living life. And you know, the toughest thing, right? Talking about what we're talking about, because of course, with these kind of micro industry that bands like me now are, you know, where basically you get your money from gigging, which is great, but I don't have a manager, I don't have an agent. I have agents who get me gig, but everything comes through me. I'm the accountant, the finance. I organise, do the logistics, because to do it, that's what you have to do. And I do it and I love doing it, because I've always been a bit of a control freak, and I used to hate it when you turn up and you say to people, well, oh, so where's the hotel? Well, it's over there. Well, no, I'd be like, well, it should be over there. And I'd say, yeah, but I want one over there. But now I get my hotel where I want it because I book it. But
from a business standpoint, that's smart though, because you have less people you got to pay.
Well, I couldn't. The simple fact is, I've had people offer to manage me, and I said, well, how's that going to work then? There's barely, because this is our model, how we work, and they always say the same thing. They always say you should be charging 5 times as much as you are, and that's the figure that most of them say is around 5 times. And I say, I know the market, I know where we play. My band wants a gig. They want to be gigging every weekend. They don't want to be playing. So if you charge the money they wanted to, we'd be playing 4 or 5 gigs a year, and it'd be very nice because you go out and you get a big wad of money. But we're a gigging band, and we want a gig, so we're not going to get that, and we're not going to do that. And people just don't understand the model that we operate on, which is, in order to act up that way, someone's got to do it, and the person who does it is me. And I love doing it though, so my time spent, in my big crumbling mansion in the Brecon Beacons here, isn't spent like, angsty artistically going through it. In fact, I quite like that now, because I used to be like that, but now Dan, our guitarist, is producing it, and his time, he's got 4 kids, he's very busy, and he's got lots of stuff. He says, right, next Wednesday, this song. And I think, so I've got the discipline. I've done a lot of the work, all the airy-fairy stuff, but I've got that discipline of, right, and we go in. And I find that what you're doing is you're going in, and instead of spending a day, 2 days on a track, the music's all done. We go in, and within 2 hours, the vocals are done, and we go in, and I'm really quite happy working that way now. So I'm becoming more efficient, if you like, at going in the studio and getting down, and very happy with the way it's turning out. So yeah, quite pleased about that. So I don't get a lot of time to songwrite because I DJ as well and do all the other bits I have to do. And
you are a busy man. You got all this shit going on. And by the way, I would like to acknowledge people in the chat, because we've been kind of talking. We do have Jolie in the chat. She runs the Spirits Medics Tour Diary. I hope I said that right, because everyone.
Julie.
Julie.
Yeah, that's right.
And also the stereotypes brought up a point. 15 years is a bit of a rush. You want to take a little bit more time.
Well, I'm 60 this year, so it seemed, well, no, I was 60 last year. I'm 61 this year at some point. So it seems like a good point to get it out, doesn't it?
I like
because my bass player said, make sure this album isn't a posthumous one.
I like how you said that you have bad memory before you went on the air, and then you forgot what your age was. I love it.
Don't worry. I hope my kids, if my kids see this, they'll just rip the piss out of me immediately. So
you're actually 27 years old. We mentioned that before, and
from the knees upwards, that's how I feel.
But anything below that's like snap, crackle, pop.
Yeah, including the knees. No, yeah, that's exclusive of the knees. Yeah, so yeah, both of them have got to be replaced this year, and that's going to happen at some point too. But I'm kind of like, I was talking to my brother. He said, "How are you? How's your knees?" I said, "Well, they're okay." I said, "The way I'm dealing with it is, if you drive a car and your tires are getting very thin on tread, and then you think, I just want to get a bit more money's worth out of them. So you drive them till the canvas is showing, and then the metal strip. You think, no, they're still good. That's what I'm doing with my knees. I just want to get me money's worth out of these original ones before they retire from the band." So I've kind of announced on stage the other week when we were gigging, I said, we've got to say goodbye to 2 members of the band who are leaving us after a long time. And ladies and gentlemen, if you could show some appreciation, without them, the band would never have been what it is today. So please, might be their last gig. Please show some appreciation for my knees. And people are very polite, and they give them that. I think they realise what a pivotal part of the band my knees have been for all these years. So
you have the most famous knees in history.
They do. They look at the moment. They don't look good in stockings. Put it that way.
Well, you don't have them. I take that back. You don't have the most famous knees. Monica Lewinsky did, but you have the second most famous knees.
Yeah, there we are. Yeah, no, my knees are like, they look like college. They're yes, they're not good. So there we are.
So when's that going to happen, or do you have to free up your gigs? Or?
Well, no, well, I'm on one of these waiting lists over here. So, and with COVID and everything else, everything's going back and what have you. So the estimation is it'll be this year, but I've got a couple of gaps. Okay, what I was talking about earlier about the worst thing you can say to a musician is, "Oh, you're all right. You're all getting back to work." No, no, we're not. 2020 was going to be our busiest year for 35 years. We'd kind of built up the live following, got everything going, and it was everything. We were going to be really busy, literally. And I look back because I keep all this stuff, and it was 35 years before that we were as busy. And of course, you couldn't make it up, could you? Doctor and the medics, what could possibly go wrong? Oh, let's see. But this year, no, it is coming back. But the truth is, and I don't want to get too dull and boring about it, but John Henry's in London, every musician in this country for the last 30 years will know John Henry's. It was the studio hire. It's where everyone went. All the big bands would go there to set up. If you needed any equipment to hire for a radius of 200 miles, they've gone out of business. Trucking companies gone out of business. So much of the infrastructure has gone out of business because they're just sitting there watching their stuff, paying for storage, and they just couldn't afford it. So, and that's happened to a lot of bands as well, and a lot of band members. People have had to take jobs. People have had to go on. So we are grinding back. We are fighting each other away. And the way I put it to bands, and this is my head now, because I crumbled a bit when it all went tits up. I had to have a word with myself, because it was like when you built up something from, as we were in 1997, which was 6 gigs, and you build it up to being your busiest year for 35 years, and you're on a roll and everything's working, and you just watch it all go like that within a week. You're like, and like it takes a while to get your head over it. So the way I deal with it all now, and I say to bands, because a lot of bands say, "No, it's bloody hard work now, isn't it?" I say, "Look, you've got to pretend you're 18 again." And when you were 18, you'd sit in the back of the van on all the gears for 4 hours in a freezing truck just to go and play somewhere. You've got to get that hunger back now, and you've got to want to do it. If you're not going to get there. You forget it. Other jobs are available. Much better paid jobs are available. If you're not prepared to go through that cathartic process and go right back and think, right, we're going to have to fight, we're going to have to do this. Okay, you turn up at a gig now, you don't get what you used to get, you don't get this. You've got to get over that, because you want to play and you want to do it, and I want to play and my band want to do it. So we're going to claw our way back. I reckon 2023, 24 will be something like where we were, but we've got a long, hard fight to get to, and it's not just us. People, and a lot of people are coming out to gigs now, but there's a lot who are still very wary, still aren't sure yet, and they're going to take a little while to come back on. And and we just need to see the process going on. The bands need to get in, everything needs to do. So we are. It's a bit, as I said, my career we're coming out of that dive, and we're not back there yet. We've got to get back up there, and the only way we'll do it is by all promoters, bands, everybody looking after each other and pushing in the same direction.
Everyone go check out the Medics Facebook page. It is there in the chat right now. But what you were saying is I'm a big advocate for mental health and stuff, and I know that I've heard that you have your own struggles. We all do. How did you handle your mental health during this pandemic? Because it's not been easy on anyone. Did you continue writing while doing it? How did you handle it as a non-touring musician, because you couldn't?
Right. Firstly, let me say I've known people with proper mental health issues, and they have every bit of sympathy with people where professional help is needed. People who can literally not get out of bed, cannot make a cup of tea. Mm-hmm. So I was never like that, and I'm lucky. I'm not saying I'm strong or anything. It's not. It doesn't work like that. I know enough about depression to know that you can't just say to, people say, oh, cheer up, oh, you'll be all right, no, it's not. It's a horrible place to go to. And
it's like fighting yourself pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. I did not have that. All right, so I was very, very lucky. I know a lot of people who did, and it was brought on by lockdown. I know a lot of people who are struggling to this day, but I didn't. I was unhappy. Simply that. I was unhappy, and of course I was. And I sat back and I thought, well, of course I'm unhappy. You think for a while, am I depressed? And then you get out of bed, you make a cup of tea, you get dressed, and you think, no, I'm not. Actually, I'm not. I'm lucky. I'm not depressed. I can do this. And then you think, well, hang on, I've lost all those gigs. I've lost this. I don't know where my next money's going to come. I don't know how I'm going to pay for this. Of course you're unhappy, but you've got to differentiate between being unhappy and being manic and being depressed and having any, other problem, which I was very lucky I didn't have. So basically, I was able to process and say, well, of course I'm unhappy because I'm here and I need to get to there, and I was able to process it. So, I mean, before I say what I did artistically, my heart goes out to everybody who is still struggling. My message then is just to remember you're not alone. I did put that out. I put that out on Facebook during pandemic, and I said, anyone who needs to get in touch, just get in touch. And I was like, oh, wow, there were a lot of people, and people were selling their guitars to pay for their rent and stuff. So I literally made a spreadsheet in the end. I said, look, this is what I've done. This is who I've approached. This is where you can get money. This is to. So I literally was sending people a spreadsheet and say, just go through that. Just do one a day. Don't look at it all. It'll kill you. I'm never going to do that. Just do one a day and then build your way up. And, and I got a few people thanking me afterwards, but it was, that was, it was really, really hard for people. And I just think I was very lucky. I think, the way I'm wired, and it's a throw of the dice. Anyone who's had depression knows what I'm talking about. It's a throw of the dice. You wake up one day and black dog's in the house, and there's nothing you can do about it. And, but one thing I do say to people is you're not alone. Do look out. There's more people who will help you than you think. And one of the things that mental health does, the situation does, is it isolates you. You think you're in that hell. Get out, please get out there. Reach out, reach out, because more people will help you than you think.
Well, I'm a big advocate for it because I'm not like extremely depressive. Like I can get up and do stuff, obviously, but this podcast really helps with it. But anxiety is also a big problem a lot of people have. And when you have them at the same time, you're like fighting yourself.
Yeah. Oh, and anxiety, lockdown, of course, anxiety, people just didn't know, my mum, bless her, she said, and I said to her, well, you've been through the war, so how does this compare? She said, this is far worse. She said, in the war, you could get up, you could go out the house, you could see people, she said, so this is far worse mentally and harder to do. And I thought, wow, because I think everyone kind of assumed that being in Britain in the war was, the worst time to go through. And she said, no, it was nothing, because you got to remember, most of the time, people were going to work, people were going to school, you were looking on the newspapers and what have you most of the time. But when the impact, the bombing and people dying, the impact was just, wow, off the scale. But for general life, she said this was harder mentally to get through than the war. So,
on a positive note,
yes, let's go. You did ask me what I did artistically, so what I did was I thought, well, I'll write a book. And as I say, my manager years ago, I said to him, Andrew, if I wrote a book, nobody would believe it. And he said, dear boy, if you wrote a book, nobody would buy it. And I kind of took that to heart. So I wrote a show, what I wrote, called The Doctor Will See You Now, which is a two-man show, and it features all our material. The only covers in there are we do You Spin Me Round, which we did I did that as a single. I'll tell you about that later, a little while ago, just so the current band could have a bit of
great
vinyl
cover,
in their
I might add.
Thank you. Well, the reason I did that was because I realised that some of the band had been with me for like 15 years, and they'd never held a piece of vinyl in their hand. So I said, let's do a song. Let's put out a single, and I'll just press up 300 vinyl, and it was great fun. And of course, they got the video, and we made a video, and we did it. So they got it. So I do that in the show, and of course, I do Spirit in the Sky in the show. The rest of it is from the first song, "The Druids Are Here," right the way up to our next single.
So have you ever thought of doing a show and not including Spirit just to see if a riot breaks out?
Good idea. Good idea. But I'll tell you the truth about that is you did get certainly bands who had a hit and didn't want to play it. And they go on stage going, we're not going to play that. I remember Les Gray from Mud refusing to play Tiger Feet. He said, no, we're not going to play that. We're bored of playing that. And it was like, it's just at the end of the day, right? If you go and see a band, and there are a lot of bands who do it, and they've had lots of hits, and they decide to just play one or two of them, and then play their new album, you go, oh. You know, you hear the audience audibly groan when they say, yeah, we're going to play you the new album in its entirety. And you go, oh, really? Because what people want, you want to be entertained. You want to hear the songs you know. But I've always taken that to heart. And I think if you've got a job where you get to go on stage and sing, if you're lucky enough to do that, that's brilliant. But if you're lucky enough to go on stage and sing a worldwide hit that people have taken into their hearts, if you don't want to do that, you shouldn't be allowed anywhere near a venue. I love singing that song. I love singing it because I love seeing what it does to people. I love it, the unity. People come up to me after shows and say they're going to get buried to it, or they buried. It's a big song. It's number one in funeral parlors in this country, and that's not a joke. It's one of the most played records, and I actually think, wow, that was 3 minutes and 40 seconds of a pop song. And now it's taken that on in people's lives. You have to respect that. And I always do, yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Kath wants to know, she's looking forward to hearing Grimly Fiendish in the show. Will it happen?
Do you know what? When the Doctor Will See You Now, it kind of, because I wrote it and I did it in lockdown. The reason I wrote it was venues were opening in London with lockdown where people were sitting at tables and chairs. And with a two-man show, you're allowed to play them. So I wrote it to go into those venues. So I did a few in lockdown. I've done a few more since. And it's developing and it's getting legs. And I'm finding out what people want to hear. Because it's funny. It's self-effacing. It's taking the mick out of me, you know. Because as I say at the beginning, this song is about the band who are least likely to still be around today, to have least likely have made a comeback, to have least likely have had a hit. And some people say to least likely to have ever existed in the first place. And I said, and this is the story of how, why, and what, and that process, and where we go. So it's funny and it's self-effacing, you know. And I've been in lots of ridiculous situations, and some would say, Doctor and the Medics, you know, you're still going, really? One hit, really? You know, and that's what the show's about. But it's kind of taken legs, and during it, there's a couple of songs that we've realised that kind of, because people don't know that I wrote Grimly Feet, the words to Grimly Feet, or some of the words. Roman and I still argue over who wrote which words. I wrote all the good ones.
You did.
And they don't know that I did that. And you say that and people are interested. And I think, well, that'll be a good one to do. So yeah, we may put it in to the Doctor Will See You Now, not to the Doctor and the Medic shows. We're slowly sliding new songs from the album in. Me saying that, you know, you hate to see a band play their new album, but we kind of interlace them in, you know.
What you need to do though is bands sometimes play their hits first, then the new album. You got to play the new album, then the hits, so that they stay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you've got to get, and you've got to do it to your audience. I mean, we've turned up at gigs with the set that we want to play, and we've looked at the audience and gone, no, that's not going to work, is it? And we've changed it because it's what, at the end of the day, they're the ones. It's their night out. Yeah. They've invested their time, their money.
And they've possibly never seen you before.
Exactly. And you've got, well, most people haven't. So for me, in the Enduri song, you know, I chose to play the Fool in a 6-piece band. First night nerves, every one night stand. I still get those nerves because it's not like we're just going out onto a big stage with an auditorium packed full of Medics fans who know every single song. No, we're going out and yet to prove ourselves every single time. And I love that process. I love it. The fact that you're going out and people think, oh, they're the band who did Spirit in the Sky. What are they going to do? Play Spirit in the Sky 12 times? And then you surprise them and you put a show on and they go, and you know, to win them over. I still love, it's what I said earlier. I'm still that 18-year-old jumping in vans, sitting on the gear.
It could be worse though. Your one hit could be like Inagata de Vita, where it's like 5 hours long. Like our buddy Jeff Towers,
Well,
he's
hang on, you've hit the nail on the head there, because we did have at one point, we were just extending it, and someone recorded it once, and I said, it's 17 minutes long now. I said, that's ridiculous. We've got to cut this bloody song back to you know, and we had to, because it was just, we were going on and we were introducing, we were having a laugh. We weren't just playing, going on, you know, it wasn't just doing that. It was, we were just having a, you know, we were introducing the band but it was becoming like a mini rock opera. So we did have to cut it back to sane levels.
That is amazing. I was just imagining, before you said that you're introducing the band, I was just imagining you standing there going on up to, that's the 17th time I've said that. Our buddy Jeff Towers, he's a drummer, sit-in drummer for a bunch of people. He has a lot of great stories to tell. He's also been a runner for people. Great guy. He has a good question. How tall was that ladder in Spirit in the Sky?
That video, right, you got to remember, that was 1986, and people were spending, they weren't spending the hundreds of thousands of dollars, but, you know, 50,000, you know, was, I suppose, there were a few videos spending well over 100 grand, you know. So a realistic video budget for a video would have been between 30 and 50,000 pounds. We spent 5,000 pounds on that video for Spirit in the Sky. We did it in an old church hall. We pulled in so many favors from people painting everywhere they could, black and white. That ladder was literally, it was 4 rungs placed in front of the camera, and I was on my knees, and I had to go out like that. You see, miming. Look, there you go. Look, that's literally what I did on a 4-rung ladder that was put in front of there. But the funniest scene from the video was, I'm singing, and if you look at it, there's one where a swirly black and white, wow, it looks lovely, CGI. No, of course it wasn't. There's no computers. There's nothing. It was a bloke with a drill, with a disc, with it painted on, walking behind, spinning it on a drill. And we were so short of money that he did the first one, and the disc span off, and there he is standing in the screen with the drill, and he actually thought, oh, and he ducked, thinking that would be fine, we could still use it. But bless him for ducking. He just go, oh, bloody, he went, oh.
That dude should have kept it. That would have been hilarious.
I wanted it. I said, oh, please keep that in, and they wouldn't do it. There was, yeah. So it was a great video, but it was £5,000. It was literally, yeah, brilliant.
You know what you should do? Due to that ladder being another lie, you should release a book called "Everything You Know Is a Lie Until Now, Maybe." That should be your autobiography.
Well, yeah, you know, as I say, on my liography, and I might actually state at the beginning that, you know, 250 of these facts are true, 74 of them are complete lies. You decide which is which, and if anyone gets all of them right, they get a prize.
You know what you should do? You should do kind of like a award though. Like if they get it right, they send you all the right answers. You give them lifetime. They can see you live whenever.
Oh, no! You want to give them a prize they want, surely.
Oh yeah, but yeah. I mean, the loser gets that. The winner.
Yeah. No, that's a good idea. Hang on, let me just write that down here.
The winner gets to see Norman, who actually wrote "Spirit in the Sky."
Bless him. I'm in touch with Norman. Every year or so, we send each other a nice little message because, of course, he had a terrible accident a few years ago, and he was in a terrible car crash. But he's kind of recovered, and he's a lot better now. No, he's a beautiful man. Yeah, I'm very lucky to have got to know him over the years.
He seems like a really good guy. I looked up some of the information about him while researching you because I'm like, interesting. Because the first version I heard of Spirit in the Sky was you guys. I didn't realize that he had done it. I thought his was the cover. I'm like, wait, like, what?
Well, his is a brilliant. You know, his was a. The thing about Norman's is we didn't want to change it that much. We just wanted to update it. Because Norman's has got that sound of March 1970 and that grinding. coming in, and it's just that sound that he got is just iconic. And we said, well, let's just do that, but in 1986. So let's not try and revamp it. Let's not try and, let's just do that, but let's do it as possibly Norman would in 86. That's all we wanted to do. So
you guys did a good job, because it still has that very 70s sound still.
Yeah. Oh, there's always been that bit of glam rockiness. So you can't knock the glam out of us completely.
There's glam rock. You mean to tell me you guys are inspired by glam? No. How long did it take you to get your hair like that?
Oh, right. That was let's just check which is that one. Right. That was one of the shoots I didn't do it for. It used to take not long at all, because we just used to use so much hairspray and backcombing, and the thing that would take the time was getting it back to normal. It was just hoping. But there was a model we used to have. The Sun newspaper used to have topless models, and I call her a page 3 girl. Sorry.
Was you one of the topless models? Or?
No, but there was a lovely lady called Linda Lusardi. She's done so much more, but that's how at the time, she was a page 3 model. And I was in the office, and the Sun phoned up and said, how do you get your hair like that? And I said, what's it for? And they said, Linda Lusardi's going to do it. So we need to, I said, okay. No, my manager was on the phone. He said, well, Clive's here. Do you want to talk to him? So I said, oh, yeah. I said, right, okay, yeah. Oh, Linda Lusardi. Oh, okay. Well, I said, right, you need flour and eggs, but you can't over flour it. And I just came out with this hideous recipe to put on her hair. And I said, but then you have to put a really so basically you're cooking eggs and flour onto your hair. And she never forgave me, because it ruined her hair for months. They actually, yeah. So that did go a bit wrong. No, we just used to hairspray and backcomb it. But sorry, Linda Lusardi, sorry.
That's where some of your lies get you in trouble.
Oh, absolutely.
Gorak over here, when I first posted the picture, he thought you were Ronnie James Dio. Are you a fan of Dio?
Oh, absolutely. I just wish I had 1,000th of his vocal ability. I mean, beautiful man, amazing singer. And to even be likened to him because of my hair is brilliant. So I'll take that any day.
You should cover Dio. That would be brilliant. You guys doing?
I couldn't sing Dio, for God's sake, man.
You don't have to, bro. Have you seen some of the covers out there? There's metal artists covering pop songs. It sounds nothing like the original. You should try it.
Well, we might do. Well, we're much more, I suppose, metal orientated. So I'm just leaning over here for my. It's time to take my second dose of medicine here. I mean, the band now. Right, this album is more, I suppose, of a rock album than any of the others have. Than any of the others have been. And a lot of the band, if I said to them, "Do you want to do a Dio cover?" They'd say yes. They'd bite my throat. So if they're watching this, put it this way, I'm going to put the band to the test. Guys, if any of you are watching this and you say to me you want to do a Dio cover, we're doing it. There we are. That proves it. They watch any of my podcasts. I
started that, by the way.
And please do Rainbow in the Dark.
Yeah, Rainbow in the Dark.
Well, I think the main one that we do muck around with sometimes is Holy Diver. So,
that would be cool. I can see you doing some Holy Diver.
So Spirit in the Sky, Holy Diver, bit of a theme.
Some of your instrumentals, though, and some of your original songs that I've heard is very metal-like. So are you like a metalhead?
I've got a very, very, very broad church of music. I don't like to exclude anything really, apart from obviously jazz. And when I say jazz, I'm talking about the purist the stuff where the musicians are looking at each other, nodding, knowing that 99.9% of us have got no clue what they're doing. Okay, apart from that, I do like all music, because when I DJ on my radio show, I do a station. I'll give it a plug for 365 Radio. I do a Thursday show from 12 till 2. Anything goes in there. I'm well known for playing William Shatner's music a lot. I do. I play a William Shatner track at least once every 2 weeks just to try and get more, because I'm a mad William Shatner fan. And if anyone's not into the cult of William Shatner recording, just look at the musicians he plays with, okay? Sadly, one of his worst songs is Spirit in the Sky, but he's got Peter Frampton on it. Peter Frampton is playing with it, and they got, you know, the list of people who play with him, they don't just play with him for nothing, and a lot of it is fantastic. So on my radio show, my mantra is, if when it comes to music, if you can't open your mind, don't open your mouth. Exactly. People say, "Oh, I hate that music." All right, don't use hate or negative. It's music. Someone likes it. Jog on. Find what you like. You know, and if you're going to send a tweet to someone saying, "No, you still going?" I always tweet them back and say, "Look, why don't you tweet an artist you like and give them something positive? They will love you for it, and they've had a tough 2 years, so do that." However, if you do want to keep just send, if that's what shakes your boat, and you want to send me loads more nasty tweets, fill your boots, mate. They're water off a duck's back. But so I always think, have an open mind to music. So I love. There's very few forms of music that I will not listen to and really appreciate. You know, and I find that it's when you find something genuinely new. And you get excited. I can't say, because it's just before I spoke to you, I came across. Hold on. Oh no, I can't do it. Oh no, I've not got it there. But a French modern ballet theme music released in 1969. It sounds dreadful, doesn't it?
That sounds like it'd be dreadful, but
it's brilliant. I couldn't believe it. And I thought, right, that's going on my show this Thursday. I thought that's absolutely amazing. So
I know what.
Yeah.
You know what you should add to your show?
Go on.
Have you ever listened to the music of Christopher Lee?
Yes, he did an album, didn't he? What was the metal band? He did
when he was 90 years old. He released his first metal album.
That was it. Yes, brilliant.
It's an operatic metal album, and it is brilliant. It is amazing.
He'd done a couple of Christmas albums as well.
Yeah, and do you know who was on his? I don't know if it was his debut metal album, but this guy wrote one of his metal albums. It was Richie Faulkner of Judas Priest.
Brilliant. See, I love that. And you go down that road. See, I will definitely play him, because when I play William Shatner, I said to everyone, you need a break from William Shatner, so we're going to play Leonard Nimoy, the Ballad of Bilbo Baggins. Oh, I'm still apologising to them to this day. I mean, bless Leonard Nimoy, but he had no. See, I think when William Shatner does it, he's got a delivery, right? It sounds. We're talking about William Shatner's music at length. Well, the thing about Shatner, of course, is Shatner's delivery supersedes all the other Star Trek actors when they perform. See, Shatner's subliminal. I weep when I hear Shatner. No, we're analysing, but he has got this fantastic delivery that's. Brilliant. And when he went into space, I just thought, does this man get any better?
He went to space.
Yes. You've got it. I watched it, and I thought the funniest thing about it, because he's not young, and he's obviously quite old. They've got all this technology to get into space and to take people up into space. Wonderful technology, but to get to the rocket, they've got 13 flights of stairs to walk up. I thought, oh come on, give the guy a break.
Give him an elevator.
And when you get to the top of the stairs, there's a bloke with a camera in your face, so everyone else is going, yeah. William Shatner's going, because okay.
Well, you got to know that they're like, well, Star Trek, one of the only, well, not the only, but one of the few surviving members of Star Trek is William Shatner, so he's got to go up there. Next is Mark Hamill. We got to get Luke Skywalker up there, and then we're good.
Oh, I think. Did you know William Shatner was the 599th astronaut? Because anyone who's been into space is an astronaut, and I find it amazing that we've only just hit the 600 level for people who've actually been into space. And I think he obviously, as you know, Captain Kirk was just brilliant. I think, I loved it.
You should become the first band to play in space. You should go to space, singing "Spirit in the Sky."
Okay, what's on the rider?
You'll probably be spending more money to do that than you'd make, though.
Well, yeah. I mean, it could have its logistic problems, but if we have another pandemic, it'll give me something to work on.
That's something you should add to your list of things to put on Wikipedia. First band to play in space.
First band to technically play in space. Just leave the technically there as a kind of a, what does that mean? Get people Googling for 10 minutes of their lives.
That is brilliant. Wikipedia made a mistake when they took away the edit button. Like, I get it, but there was a lot of artists that was like putting crazy shit. Like, like
I didn't even know they'd taken the edit button away. It's been so long since I've tried to, so I can't do that anymore.
I think you have to actually like prove that it's you or whatever. I don't know what the full technicalities is, but
it is me. So I'm gonna you keep an eye on Wikipedia in the next couple of weeks. There's going to be something on there.
So you aren't an actual doctor, but you are an actual reverend.
20 minutes on the internet, and I'll tell you the story behind it. Was my bass player, Garrett? If Garrett's over there and watching this, Garrett, hello, mate. My bass player for many years and a very good friend was getting married, and his bride, his wife to be, got in touch with me and said, "Would you?" Because over in America, they're stupid enough to let people like me marry people legally. Over here, there's no chance. You've got, hold on a minute, But over there, so 20 minutes on the internet, and I was a reverend. You did have to say Universal Ministries, and you get a card, and you get, the great thing is you get admonishments of sin certificates. So I carry certificates with me, so I can, if someone I can sign it, and all their sins are wiped off straight away. I think that, and you get a little card with Reverend on and everything. So I flew over to marry him, but what she'd done was she had got a female pastor or whatever to marry him, but she'd briefed this woman, and she was brilliant. Apparently, she'd briefed her and said, "Look, Gareth doesn't like this about people. He doesn't like this. He doesn't like this, and he doesn't like this. So can you please say all of these things?" Because she told him that that I was going to be doing the wedding. So the day before I got there, and I was having a beer with him, and I said, "So who's marrying you?" And he went, "Oh God, it's a woman. She's a nightmare. She does this. Oh God, and she wants me to do." And he was moaning and moaning and moaning. So it worked out perfectly. And then I just produced my card. I said, "Gareth, there, have a look at that." And he went, "What?" I said, "Yeah, I'm marrying you. It's me."
You're the closest thing to a preacher we're going to have on the show. And we are the show that needs our sins cleansed. So if you can send me one of them cards, please. When I first heard you're a reverend, I'm like, oh, God, I have to watch what I say.
No, not at all. I mean, I don't. It's not a secret now, but I'm a confirmed atheist. I always have been. But in fact, you had to put the one question you had to answer when you became a reverend was your religion. I thought, I'll do this. So I put pagan Buddhist healer. Closest thing I could think of.
You could have just said you're a wizard, because the way you dress, you could be considered a wizard.
Yeah, I could have done, but I think even America's clever enough not to let wizards marry people.
I don't know. They gave you a certificate to be a priest. So I don't know. Exactly. But
my mate got jealous because he said, "How did you do that?" Anyway, I met him the next week. He said, "Oh, you and your reverend?" I said, "Yeah, what?" He said, "I'm a bishop."
You're going to be the Pope next week.
Yeah, I take your reverend, and I raise it to one bishop.
Man, you're living like the ultimate fantasy. You are a reverend, you're a doctor, you're a snail farmer. I mean, you have the fantasy of like nobody, but you're living the life.
He's inspired us all.
Yeah, I want to become a snail farmer priest. How do I I'm going to quit going.
And don't forget, a shit snail farmer.
You know what we should do? We should do a part 2 on the show when you get your new knees, because you might be a different person. I mean, we might have to do an update. Last time I was recording, Dan asked me, are they going to fit a USB socket in them?
And then he said, and is it like in the films where you can peel back the flesh and you see all the lights and like the metal work and See, I think they think I'm going to get bionic knees.
You're going to be like 80% Terminator by the time this thing's done.
Wow. Yeah, I'm close to 6. I think. What was it? I think the actual knee parts themselves cost around £5,000 each. So I am going to be the £10,000 man when they're in there. So
that sounds like one of them. I don't know if you get it where you're at, but on a channel called TLC, they have like My 1,000-Pound Life and shows like that. You should be the 10,000-pound man and go on there.
Yeah, I am the 10,000-pound man. Yeah, but it's given me, after lockdown, it has given me a reason, because as you said about missing gigs, is I've got to time this and do this really well. And I cycle by e-bike because that's building the muscles up around the knees. So that's good. And I swim, and I've got to lose a stone now after lockdown. And the reason I've got to do it is because my consultant said if you keep the muscles on your legs fit, if you lose a stone, and if you stay fit, you can halve your recovery time. And he said there's no reason why after 2 or 3 weeks you can't drive, but why you can't walk on stage and perform after 2 or 3. So that's my target. So I'm kind of like, I've got a motivation now to get, because I hate swimming. I mean, when I'm in the pool and you swim and you come out and feel great, but I hate it. I can't stand it. Getting in the water, it's like, oh God, have I got to do this? But now I've got a reason to get up and get in the pool, and it's quite, it's doing me no harm at all. I'll be thin, I'll be fit, and I will have 10,000-pound knees next time. Quite a catch.
That sounds like a Tinder profile. I got 10,000-pound knees.
I'm going to use that line now.
Greg's going to start using that line. He actually promotes this on Tinder. He promotes this on dating apps.
Brilliant. Yeah, I'll update my profile immediately.
So everybody's hollering for a part 2. So next year, when you get your new knees, you should do this show again, and we will have Clive Jackson's new knees, and that's certainly
okay. Listen, how about when I have a new album and I have new knees?
Yeah,
we
do
got
all kinds of new stuff. New album, new knees,
new
me.
Yeah. When we do it, then the album that I've been promising people for 17 years, because I was told actually when I was like 49, you need your knees replaced. He said you have the knees of a 79-year-old, and the doctor said, and I'm not talking about a fit 79-year-old. He said, what have you been doing? Well, I used to jump off the drum risers onto my knees, and I used to do all sorts of things, and we kind of think that didn't help the process, did it at all? So, I'd love to come on. So, I've waited 13 years. I put it off for as long as possible because the technology's improved each few years, and now it's at a really good point. And I'm at a point in my life where if I have it done, I've got hopefully a good few years where I'll be more mobile and everything else. So, so the new knees, the new album, the new me.
That's what the title's going to be. So, but when you get the new knees, that doesn't mean you can now jump off drum risers again. You do know that, right?
No. I'll be, I don't. I used to walk a lot, and since I've lived in the Beacons, we have the Brecon Beacon. The mountain is called Pennyvan. And the last time I went up there was 5 years ago, and I was crying on the way down because the pain was so much. Going up was fine on the way down. But I was a Cub, a Scout, a Venture Scout, then a Cub Scout leader, a Venture Scout leader, because I believed so much that coming from London as I did, that organisation gives young people the chance to get out and experience the country and find themselves, and it did me a lot of good. And I used to run down the mountains. They used to call me the mountain goat because I used to just run from bound down. That obviously didn't help either in the long run. But I was walking down and I was just thinking to myself, I said, God, this is what's happened. So now I'm kind of really looking forward to it. And I met a good friend of mine, Alex, who he's still a scout leader. He's still doing this. He's an amazing guy. But I said the one thing I miss is walking. So once they're done and I'm fit, we've made a promise that we're going to go up Pennyvan and down. So I'm really, really looking forward to getting back up mountains and walking.
I can't wait for you, bro. I was actually a Boy Scout when I was younger. You might have been my scout leader. I don't know.
You would have remembered. You would have remembered.
I think you might be my real father. I'm not sure.
How old are you?
Going to be 30 in April. When was your last tour in the United States?
Where was your mum living 30 years?
When was your last U.S. tour? 30 years ago?
No, it was 80. Well, it was 86. It was 86. Yeah, 1986.
Oh, okay, no. So my dad is my real dad. Good.
Yeah,
I figured.
yeah.
Whenever I talk to my dad, you're gonna laugh at this because you have the sense of humor for it. My dad, I was like, I have Clive Jackson on the show, Doctor and the Medics, and he said, "Who?" And I'm like, he sung the song "Spirit in the Sky," and I played it for him. He's like, "Oh, this ain't the original."
Well,
I'm like,
that's kind of like the reverse of how I get because we're not that famous. People get me. I used to be mistaken for Pete Burns when I was younger from Dead or Alive. Now I get mistaken for Roy Wood quite a lot. And we did a gig recently, and not recently, 2019, a festival. We came off, and a woman came over, and she was not very happy. She said, "Well, I quite enjoyed the show, but you didn't play any of your hits." And before I could say, "Well, actually, we played them all," right, in 5 minutes, before I could say anything, she said, "I was so looking forward to Sylvia's mother." Right, okay, I see what's happened here, but she thought we were Dr. Hook. Now, the process that you go through to get to that point, right? She's bought a ticket, she's come to the gig, and she honestly thinks, it says on the ticket, Doctor and the Medics. So she's like, "Oh, that's Dr. Hook. They're going to play Sylvia's mother." What process goes through your head where that
wrong
happens,
doctor, wrong doctor. You got that.
So yeah, I still like it when I get mistaken for other people. I should say though that I was getting, we've worked with Roy Wood. We recorded Waterloo with him. A fantastic guy, and I like him a lot. So getting mistaken for Roy Wood is no problem for me. But I did get a bit fed up. And a few years ago, when my kids were younger, I shaved my beard off, and I looked like Vanessa Redgrave. So I grew it again, and my kids cried. I came out the bathroom thinking, "Oh," and they looked at me and they cried.
They're like, they thought you were their mom.
Don't go down that road.
Oh God, that's hilarious though. That's why I don't shave my beard, because then I would look like 15 years younger, and it's a sad thing.
Yeah, and you can keep that. You can keep that 15 years and bank it when you really need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when I really need it, I'll shave it off, and then I'm like, "Oh shit! I realized I'm more attractive with the beard." It hides everything.
It does. Actually, the reason I did grow it was in 1985, when we went to Paris for the first time ever. I went through a windscreen in a car at 2:00 in the morning after drinking mezcal for several hours with the promoter. And it was fine for a while because it was all stitched up and everything. But as I started to get older, I they started. I thought, I'll just grow a beard. So and it's stuck ever since. So yeah, that's why it started anyway. I've kept it since.
It's weird because when you're like younger and you grow a beard, it makes you look older. But then when you get older and you grow a beard, it makes you look younger.
Well, I have a curse, really. I have a curse, and I don't really know what to do. Because I've looked at old photos of myself, and I'm just getting better looking every year. Now, people think that's great, but it's not. I'm just, God knows how good I'm going to be looking in 10 years. It scares me. It scares me.
You heard it here first, folks. It's. What is your key though? Like, you've had a perfect head of hair your entire life. Do you use hair products for it, or?
I haven't. My forehead used to end here.
Yeah, but you still have
this bit is extra, and it's not like low and high tide where it goes like that and then comes back down. No, it's just going back there. I did use, and I still do use, actually, Regain when it started, and it does work. Honestly, it does, because it was getting quite thin here, and it does work. And the funniest thing about that, I was buying it in a chemist, and I was in the queue with a box of Regain, and the bloke behind me, thinning a lot, he tapped me and said, "Does that stuff work?"
Damn it! I missed out on that.
Oh, Kath says that you look kind of like Brad Pitt.
Oh, really? Is she watching the same show?
I don't know. If I was drunk behind a wall, you probably would a little bit.
But you know what? I tell you what, drunk behind the wall, I look like Brad Pitt. I'll take that. My hair looks like Ronnie James Dio. I'll take those any day of the week. I'm floating on air now. I just feel.
Have you ever been like mistaken for other like celebrities with curly hair that you didn't mention, like Tony Iommi or Weird Al Yankovic? Because I get that a lot. I get Weird Al a lot.
No. Literally, the only ones: Pete Burns, Roy Wood, and then Vanessa Redgrave.
I always
and then Ronnie James Dio.
Yeah,
Ronnie James Dio now, and now Brad Pitt. I'll add those to the list.
I always get Weird Al Yankovic. I get like
I can see that. Yeah, absolutely.
I get Bob Ross, the painter.
Jerry Garcia, the second.
I've gotten that. I've never done acid, so But the one thing, going into the segue, one thing that always amazed me when I was reading your notes was you do like psychedelic music and stuff, but you aren't a connoisseur of any drugs like most psychedelic artists are. Oh, that's another lie. Okay.
I didn't. Anyway, moving on.
I love this man. Oh.
Someone needs to update the Wikipedia page now.
Yeah, all the lies are still out.
I remember seeing that. Yeah, I remember seeing that, and I remember seeing with Ian Astbury, because when they did, because he used to come to our club, Alice in Wonderland, when we started. Because originally I started as a DJ in a club DJ, and Ian Astbury used to come down a lot. In fact, he sang. I found one thing that surfaced in lockdown was someone sent me the club in London, Heaven. We did a New Year's Eve gig there in '85, and someone sent me a recording of it. And Ian Astbury's on stage with me doing Wild Thing. So we had quite a lot of, and in fact, in the Rain, if you look at the video for Rain, the girls dancing are from the Medics. So because that was a hit when it was, because he was coming down the club and he wanted the girls in his video, that's it. We got accused of nicking the Cult's girls for years. So no, it was the other way around. The Cult used the Anadin Brothers, as they were collectively known, to play in their video. So there's a lot of cross-fertilization there. And there was a feature saying that, Ian Astbury, this psychedelic music, Doctor and the Medic psychedelic. And the ironic thing is, neither of them take drugs. I've never been asked in my life if I take drugs.
Until now.
You won, Mike.
The thing is a lot of people make it seem like it's a bad thing in the music industry to have taken drugs. Now, drug abuse is bad, but for some people, it helps them with their artistic way. Especially with cannabis, we know more and more about it. I do it medically.
Yeah, well, I can see that.
Yeah, you can tell by looking at me.
I can see that. And you're doing very well on it, I have to say. No, all I'll say is that as you in this business, to still be doing it at 60, you've got to look after yourself. That's you can't be tripping the light fantastic every night of the week and thinking, you're not some tortured writer in the south of France drinking absinthe just so that you can see the angels and hear the demons give you the words you need for your novel. If you're going to go down that road, you're going to look like it and you're going to last 5 minutes. So,
like Alice Cooper said, a lot of musicians, especially his friends, would live the onstage character 24/7. You got to learn to let go of that eventually, or it's going to kill you.
Yeah, that's even more true for my case because over the last 2 years, because I've probably only been on stage in the last 2 years collectively about 48 hours. So I'd be a bit sad, wouldn't I? I mean, I've known people who've changed their checkbook in the days when we had checkbooks to their stage name, and you just think, oh. And also think about it. What are you going to write about? What are you going to? If you are that person, and that's your life, you can only write rock and roll god, rock and roll hero. I was born for rock. I am rock. You can only write so many of those bloody songs, can't you? The rest of the time, you've got to live your life, and what you do on stage is an extension of it, and what you write is an extension of who you are. So no, I have known people who do not come off stage, and they're intolerable.
Well, some people do legally change the name of their stage name. Like I mentioned before, Alice did that, but it's more for a legal reason for some people.
If you're Alice Cooper, you're Alice Cooper.
Yeah, no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. If you're that big, that you're in a whole different. Of course, you're Alice Cooper. And people would be disappointed if you didn't have Alice Cooper on your checkbook. But I'm not.
What's crazy is back on like the whole like slowing down due to age thing. There are some rockers that people are like, well, they do it, so I can. No, you are not Keith Richards. You're not Ozzy Osbourne. Slow the fuck down.
And there is another thing when people say, "Oh, well, look at the Rolling Stones. Look at Black Ozzy Osbourne, etc., etc." Right? The thing is that they don't drive themselves to the gigs. They don't hump their own amps out the car. They don't even sound check. All right, their life is airport, fly, hotel, relax, get picked up, driven to the gig, on the stage, everything's set up. They know where it is. They do their gig. They're taken back. They're looked at. We're still packing our gear in the car at 3 a.m. in the pissing rain. So there's a totally different echelon. You can't judge your life. You can't. So we have to stay fit. We have to stay agile, and then quite often be able to drive after as well.
Exactly. Like a lot of people like to say, well, this person can do it. No, everybody's different. Everybody's situation is different.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, like music is subjective, and so is like the way of life. I mean, you live the life that is best for your health, not how somebody else is living theirs.
Exactly. We all have to make, at the end of the day, I think we all have to be brave enough to be ourselves and decide what's right for us. And I think that if you do, I know my body, and I know how much sleep I need, and I know what I need to do for my voice to be able to. I'm not a great singer, but I've actually. Someone saw a video of me the other day who saw me last sing about 20 years ago, and he said, "You've actually learned to sing." And I said, well, it's kind of by default. If you do something so many times, your brain finally works out what to do. But you have to keep the pipes and everything, and your ability to get air in your lungs and be able to produce a note. Because I remember seeing older guys when I was younger. I won't name any bands, but literally leaning on a post, on the stage with a fag and a beer, wheezing and puffing and unable to sing. And I thought, I never want to be that guy. So you have to keep everything working, and you have to be sensible. You have to look at the, so when I'm in the pool, by the way, talking about swimming, there is something, if people want to take it up, right, and you hate the idea and you think it's boring, it is boring. But you can now get Sony Walkmans that you just MP3 Walkmans that you clip in your ears and you can listen to in the pool. So counting lengths is boring, 32, 30, was that 33 or was that 35? Well, I'm down this end, it's an odd night. You don't have to do any of that nonsense, right? Because what you do is you put an album, 40 minutes. So you pick an album in its entirety, which is a brilliant way to listen to music. We don't do enough of it anymore. And when you remember the process of making an album, you used to think, first track, side one, last track, side two, that whole flow of an album. So you pick a great album, and that's 40 minutes. So you just swim and you're listening to the album, and you don't even register how many lengths you've done, but you've been swimming for 40 minutes. It's a great way to swim. There you are, you heard it. That's your doctor's advice for your mental and physical well-being, everybody.
I will have to do that. I'm not a swimmer. I'm more of a walker. Like I'll walk through the woods and stuff.
Yeah, but if you do that, you drown. You need to swim.
If I walk in the woods, I'll drown, but if I swim, I won't. That is that makes the best. Now I know you do drugs.
Or something like that.
That needs to be on a shirt. If you walk through the woods, you'll drown.
Yeah. I was actually thinking of walking in the pool, but I think your one's better. Yeah.
So you have a gig coming up, at least I think. I guess I knew before going live before you did. But May 29th at the Upton House, is that still going on?
Yes, that is going on. Yeah, that's 29th at Upton House. Now, interestingly, I'm just looking at my dentist, and I've got a dental appointment 2 days later. The reason that's interesting is that's my first dental appointment for 2 years since lockdown. But anyway, yes, we are definitely playing at Upton House, and we're on stage at 3:30.
Oh shit! At night or in the morning?
No, in the afternoon. In the afternoon, it's quite a big show. They've got some much bigger names than us, so we're on at 3:30. Which is good. I had this conversation with Midure once, because when we do a lot, that festival, we're doing a full set, which is great. But when we do a lot of the rewind, those big festivals, we get 12 minutes. You get 12 minutes on with and on and off, and you're on early in the day. And I was talking to Midge, and I said, "How long are you playing for, Midge?" And he said, "Oh, I've got an hour." "Oh, what time are you on?" "Oh, 8:30. So you not off till 9:30. I said, "You know what your mistake was, Midge? You had other hits. You should have stuck at 1, because look at us. We're off stage at 3:30. We're in the bar by 4. You're still on stage, and we're on the way back to the hotel. We've been fed, watered. Easy gig, mate. You had too many hits, and I think he's taken. Yeah, I think he now regrets all those extra hits."
You heard it here first, folks. You don't want to be a successful musician, because he won't be able to be in bed by 9.
No, you have to play far longer sets far later.
Guys, if you enjoyed this show, which I know you did, check out Doctor and the Medics on all social media. He's on Facebook. There's 3 different Facebook things, which I guess is that your big following on Facebook?
Do you know what? I've got to get TikTok going. I've got to get TikTok going, and just to round it off, because what I was saying a bit earlier, what I've got to really get on top of is Facebook, Twitter, all the social medias before the album comes out, because I know I'm wholly inadequate. And Julie, who's watching, who does Spirit's Medics Tour Diary, by the way, Spirit is the name of her parrot, in case you're wondering, and it's the Parrot's Tour Diary, so it sounds more medicy than you possibly thought. It does a wonderful job on all that side, and probably more people visit that page than mine, because I'm woefully inadequate. But yeah, we're going to up the ante. We'll get TikTok, but yeah, I'm on Facebook and Twitter mostly. So
I noticed that you're on Facebook and Twitter a lot. Your Instagram didn't seem that active when I was.
No, and I've been told I need to. So yeah, I'm not too old to learn new tricks.
Well, what people don't realize is it's hard for us here, and we got 3 people to keep up with all the social media, because there's so many accounts and so many places you can be.
There's some people get upset with me saying, "Oh, I messaged you on Facebook, you didn't get back to me," and it's like, I would literally spend an hour, 2 hours a day just if I was to respond to everything. You can't, and I'm not even that famous, but I kind of, I do feel a bit bad that I'm so rubbish at it. So yes, I will. Anyone watching, and especially on Facebook, because I got all these friend requests, and I've got you're only allowed 5,000 friends, aren't you? So I kind of have to be brutal sometimes and just have I need to get. So I will do. There you go. There's another one for the future. New album, new knees, new profiles.
That is going to be the next episode of Pink Sock with you. That's going to be... Well, since you have a great sense of humor, I'm sure you're going to get a nice laugh out of this. Are you familiar with what a pink sock is?
Yes, well, as a doctor, I am aware of what a pink sock is, and I have to say it's an absolute pleasure to be in one.
I love it. We get a lot of our guests because they're like, either they don't know what a pink sock is, or they're like, that's a brilliant name, because it seems innocent, but it's really not.
It's not. I think it's just a genuinely beautiful thing.
Are we talking about the same thing?
I'll let you work that out.
While you were on the road, have you ever seen one? Have you ever seen one in person?
Yes. In fact, when I was about 12 or 13, my friend's mother worked as a nurse, and she had this manual of various prolapses and various things, and we were just looking through it one day, and yes, I've seen in all its glory.
It's gross.
Yeah. But I think the fact this show is called that is a thing of beauty. So
yeah, like I called it that, not thinking I would get like the guests I've been getting. So now I can't go back. Like,
Absolutely not. And I think maybe you should go the other way and raise awareness of the pink sock issue, because there are people out there. Maybe if you want to do a charity night, where we raise money for people who need help in that department, yeah, I'll help. I'll take part in that and say, for every £1 you give,
we'll push it back in for you.
Slap on the latex.
That would be a great event. The doctor and the medics will push your pink sock back in for you.
It's been confirmed, ladies and gentlemen.
There's a GoFundMe prize.
Would you be up for it, though?
Yeah. It depends on the money. What are the hours?
It depends on how much we raise. How about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
This has been a lot better. Like, I knew it was going to be a great show, but it's been a lot better. I didn't think you would know what a pink sock was. A lot of people don't.
Oh, as soon as I saw the word, I thought, hold on a minute. I'm not going on there without making absolutely sure I know what we're talking about here.
I had Ryan Roxy on here, and I don't know if you're familiar with him.
I tell you, as a result, well, when I knew I was coming on, I thought, well, I'll have a look at this. I just hope no one sees my search history at the time.
Clive Jackson has a pink sock. I was going to get shirts made for the guest that says, "Thank you for coming on my pink sock." And
wonderful.
And the spelling would be different than COM.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, do you know what? I've loved. Yes, I hadn't thought about that. I would have said otherwise. I'm really looking forward to coming on your pink sock before the interview. But I must say, I am now really glad I came on your pink sock. So yes,
you should come on a pink sock again, because it's.
I'd love to come on your pink sock anytime.
What's hilarious is we actually had a friend of mine, Ryan, on here. The first thing I did is I'm like, you know what a pink sock is? Tell me the story. And apparently he Googled it, not knowing what it was, with the images first, and the safe search was not on, so he got a picture of it before he got a definition.
Did he recognize what it was? I saw the first picture I saw of it looked like a set from Alien.
Like the alien had the little thing come out of the mouth.
Yeah. That's a good way of explaining it to someone that's underage.
It looks like the alien's mouth in Alien.
Yeah. Ooh.
That is a thing of beauty. That is gross.
Absolutely.
So this show went off the rails a little bit in a good way. But for all your pink sock needs, we are on all streaming platforms now. And you can follow the Doctor everywhere, as we stated before. And there's another show, I think this might be an older show. I'm not sure. June 18th, 2021. Okay, that was 2021. What was that show like? Wasn't that your first show back from the pandemic?
That was we'd done a couple in October, November, but that was really good, because Blackpool, many childhood memories, because I was born and raised in Liverpool, and Blackpool used to be the family holiday. And the Waterloo Music Bar is a fantastic venue. The guy who'd taken it over, we went into lockdown on the 19th of March 2020. He got everything signed and took the bar over at 4:00 on March the 19th, 2020. And 3 hours later, they announced lockdown after he took over the bar. So he literally phoned all his friends up and said, "I can't keep this beer. Everybody come. It's Stella for free," or whatever, and they just had an almighty party. And then he decided, well, what am I going to do? So what he did during the whole of lockdown, he had everybody in there, all the staff, but they decorated the place. So you've got a Lemmy's bar there, you've got everything. It's a fantastic venue. And I walked in absolutely really impressed with it. And no, it was good, because it was one of the early shows we did with it. And it was sort of very, very developmental. But there were people it could hold 70 people. And we had 70 people in there. But the thing that I knew was there's 70 people who paid to come and see the show. So everyone was very appreciative, I think, just to have any live entertainment at all. but they really did like enjoy. Yeah, it was a lovely night. It was, and for us, it was kind of, it meant a lot to actually get up there, get to Blackpool, play a gig, and then wow, and then of course it went into we all went back into lockdown for a bit after that. So yeah, great.
It's great that you got to gig though, because like you got to knock the rust off a little bit and do a show. I mean, there hasn't been much shows since 2019 other than like here and there. So it's good that that has happened. We're actually going on to the hour and 30 mark. I was probably going to end the episode soon so that we give people more to listen to when you come back on, because we would love to have you back.
Do you know what? I'd love to. And as you say, you know, it's as you say, it's just brilliant just to be able to chat, because you could quite often, if you do an interview, you're told, and then we did this, and then we did that, and then we did that. But for me, it kind of makes me remember other stuff that I've done. Yeah. So yeah, and it's an opportunity to just, as you say, just ramble. I just hope people have enjoyed it.
Yeah, with this show, I don't want to do like the typical interview style, which works. A lot of people are great at it. But for me, like, I just like to invite people on and then just get to know them, talk to them, be human with them, and just that way, because I feel there's too much of the interview style stuff. I actually hardly ever use the word interview unless it's like in the subject, because I'm like, hey, you want to come on and talk? Like, just...
Well, absolutely. Well, as I said, the last one that I did from your side was with Richard Strange from the Doctors of Madness, and it was just a chat. But, you know, he was telling me some great stories, and it was just, it was good chat. But unfortunately, I do have to edit it down to 3 1-hour sections. But there we are. You know, it's good. It's good for us, and as long as people, and maybe people have learned a bit more about what Doctor and the Medics are about, and hopefully you may get to enjoy our music.
Well, what a lot of people do now is not just cut it down to 3 parts, but they will actually cut different segments and release them in segments instead of whole episodes. And then when they're done with the segments, then they'll release the whole episode.
I may nick that idea.
Because it's such a long episode that like you can be like, hey, what did he have to say about this and this and this? And then boom, the whole episode.
I might steal that idea. So yes, thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. You're welcome. So everyone go check out Doctor and the Medics on all social media. We will bring the Doctor back on with brand new knees, brand new everything, maybe even a book. Who knows?
New profile, new knees, new album. No, the album is going to be the priority. The album is going to be the priority. I mean, the knees.
I think he just gave away the album title name now.
New knees, new me. Album.
I am in the middle of writing a book, and it is called "What with Those Knees." And the idea of that is it's for all these negative people who look to let something identify them, or to put other people down. So I'd often say like, well, I'm going to do this. People say, oh, what with those knees? And it's like, well, you know, yeah. So it's kind of a positive book, but it's a bit about my journey, not about the band specifically. It's about my journey with knees, and there's a lot of cycling stuff in there for older guys or girls or anyone who wants to get back into cycling as something to do when you're older. But it's got loads of tips. It's got all funny stories, like when you first go on a bike and you haven't been on a bike for 20 years, don't go cycling down a busy road and look over your shoulder thinking you're going to stay in a straight line. You don't. Right? So but it's written quite funny. So I'm writing a book called What with Those Knees, and in brackets, yes, and with this voice. And it's kind of don't let other the moral of it is, let other people be the people. This is a good line to end the show on, I think. Let other people be the ones who tell you what it is you can't do.
I love that. I'm big for like motivational quotes, and that's really good. I need to write that.
That's really good.
Was that something you came up with, or did you read that somewhere?
Well, I didn't invent the words; they were already in the dictionary.
Oh, I know. I meant the saying. You smart ass.
I'm sure. Do you know what? It sounds like someone should have said it. No, but I do it, and I say it at the end of the Doctor. I put it into the Doctor Will See You Now. That's the line at the end, because throughout the show I'm saying that people told me I couldn't do this, people told me I couldn't do that, people told me I shouldn't do this, or I should give that up now, or I should do that, or I shouldn't do that, and that's the whole theme of the show. And I said, but here I am, and I'm smiling, and you've had a laugh. So let other people be the ones to tell you what it is you can't do.
Exactly. A lot of people told me that I couldn't become a popular podcaster, and look at me, not a popular podcaster, but I'm doing it. I'm doing the show.
Do you know what? You can spend your life. You can spend your life wanting to do something and just never do it because you believe you can't. And the main reason you believe you can't is because other people have told you can't. And people tell you, oh no, someone like you can't do that. You can't do that. And so you put it off and put it off. And you don't. It's like me. I'm not, as we're talking, I'm not playing arenas. I'm not well known. I'm not but I'm doing it and I'm loving it. And that's it, and I'm happy. So what price that?
Well, I was going to introduce you on the show as Clive Jackson of the Jackson 5, but
oh, listen, make sure that when I come back on, I won't tell it now, but make a note for me to tell you my Jackson 5 story.
Will do.
I have shamed myself hideously in front of that entire family.
And you're not even related.
not even, no. Although, no, I'll tell you the full story when we get next time.
Sweet. You heard it here first. We are going to do another episode with Clive Jackson. Stay in touch because I really enjoyed this, and I'd like to stay in touch with you. And
absolutely. Oh no, absolutely. So yeah,
I sent you a friend request on Facebook. If you find me worthy enough, it's sitting there.
Email me when you do, and I'll jump the queue for you because there's quite a queue there. And if people have said to me, "Oh, you've never accepted my friend request," I'm going through, but it's like you have to go through all the ones. I'd say you have to go through all your list of people, find people who've left or people make space, and then get other people on. So I am trying.
You're good. I figured I'd throw in that joke though, because like I sent it. It just put me up the queue. But this was Clive Jackson. He's amazing. He's hilarious, and it's been a lot of fun. I think I just made a new friend.
Absolutely. Well, you say, apart from the age difference, looking at you and looking at me, I think am I that guy up there or am I this guy down there? It's spooky. We could have been separated at birth, couldn't we?
You know what we should do is
it would have been a long birth. It would have been a 30-year birth, but there we are.
Well, what we should do is if you start your own podcast, I should come on your podcast and you interview me. Let's.
Well, we could do because I'm starting to do interviews on my radio show. So if you're happy just doing a radio show interview, I could do one to promote the Pink Sock.
I would be happy actually just appearing as a on and off regular. I mean, I love doing radio. I love doing podcasts. I mean,
I don't think the radio station, I don't think the world is ready for us to do a regular.
I mean, you could be the Howard Stern to my Robin.
How does that work?
Hey, I'm a powerful black woman. Don't you judge me.
Right.
It was nice talking to you, Clive. Everyone, remember, live long, rock hard, and go follow Spirit and the Medics on the Tour Diary on Facebook, and go follow Clive on all social media. He's not on all the social media. Yeah, book your appointment. And he's not on all social media, but he's on all social media.
Yeah, I am, and I'm going to be getting better. I promise.
He's going to get better. He promises. You heard it here first, folks. Love you all.
Very naughty boy.
Very naughty. Don't spank him. He enjoys that. But you all have a lovely rest of your day.
I'm saying nothing.
And remember, live long, rock hard.
There we are. Thank you so much.
No problem.